Hello, my name is Julie Benish, and I will be doing my presentation on automatic data processing, more commonly known as ADP. I chose this company because I have interned there since June and will be starting a full-time position with them starting in January. They are a provider of business management software and services, and according to their own words, they are a comprehensive global provider of cloud-based human capital management solutions. So they offer things like HR, payroll, time attendance, and benefits administration. ADP's external environment, in terms of their industry, is broadly classified as business services, given the many facets and solutions that they provide. In some respects, though, they can fit into a more narrow segment of this industry, which would be considered management consulting. This industry in the US has generated almost $2 trillion in combined revenue in 2018, which was actually an 11% increase from 2017. Also in 2018 in the US, this industry included 9.4 million jobs throughout 1.2 million firms. This is just one nation's example of how vast the impact and importance of this industry is. The top 5 competitors for ADP include SAP or SAP, Workday, Ultimate Software, Oracle, and Paychex. The common thing through all of these competitors is that they all offer payroll services. However, Workday, Ultimate, and Oracle all focus more on the analytical side of things, whereas SAP and Paychex align more consistently with every single type of offering. The main driver of change in this industry is technological capabilities. If there is a way to make it easier, faster, or more hands-off, the professional service provider must grab on to stay afloat among this competition. In addition, clients are becoming more sophisticated and desiring solutions to streamline their process, and they have really high expectations for these service providers. This industry is very aggressive, and it's across the globe. Geographic boundaries are irrelevant to suppliers and clients. It has become, again, a customer expectation that these providers are experts all around the world. And lastly, we have modularization, which is the act of breaking down things into smaller elements. So while all-inclusive packages are widely available from these competitors, this industry always finds ways to adapt to the smaller businesses as well. For example, ADP has a total source offering that includes the HR, the payroll, health and benefits, retirement, and business insurance. However, they are aware that not every business, especially small ones, need all of this support or can afford it, so they have broken it into smaller individual segments that can be grouped as necessary. Continuing with the external environment, the major relevant force for this industry is certainly the threat of substitutes, and that is mainly because business owners have a mindset where they can process payroll largely in-house, especially these smaller businesses. Many want to be in control of their finances and do not see this as a worthy investment, especially because a lot of the services are optional and there isn't really a requirement to have a payroll provider or have an HR provider. So in terms of the overall attractiveness of this industry, it is a little bit twofold. So we have seen that there has been an 11% increase in America, and there's very robust across the globe with a lot of employees, which makes it seem attractive on the surface. However, there's high threats, and the rivalry is very, very powerful, and the buyer power is very high as well. They can make decision if they want this or not, and like I mentioned earlier, it's basically optional. Given this, if you were to enter this industry as a provider, like ADP is, it's not a very attractive industry. On the other hand, if you're an investor, someone who's looking for an opportunity in a growing and robust industry, this certainly is good because that competition continues to spur on growth and innovation. Moving to the internal environment, ADP's mission is this. It states, "Our mission is to provide insightful solutions that drive value and success for our clients by allowing them to focus on their business." While this may seem generic, it is actually a pretty good fit for ADP. It says who they are servicing and some form of how they're going about that. Some competitors, such as Paychex, have a very narrow-minded mission statement that has restricted their growth. For example, they specifically mention payroll and HR, kind of pigeonholing themselves into one path. And on the other hand, there are competitors like Oracle who are too broad. You can read their mission statement and have no idea what they're doing or who they are servicing. So in this sense, the mission statement does definitely tend to the advantage of ADP. Looking at this financial performance, simply based on revenue growth, they have had a 25% increase over the past 5 years annually. And overall, if you were to look at this, the ratios are pretty high and very healthy. The one thing I do want to note is the current ratio. So the current ratio here we can see has declined a little bit, but stayed kind of consistent. It does indicate that the company has just enough liquid assets to cover their short-term liabilities because that ratio is just over 1. This is not an ideal standing because if the ratio were to fall below 1, which is where it's trending, ADP would not have enough liquid assets. Next, we have the SWOT analysis. So the strengths of this business, ADP, are largely their robustness and their size. They have 58,000 employees, 860,000 clients over 140 countries. And a lot of these clients are staying with ADP's business for over 10 years at a time. And additionally, they have strong partner relationships. For example, their insurances department partners with insurance underwriters who they work with every single day to make sure the business is being done the best way it can for their clients. For weaknesses, obviously there is a lot of competition. As I mentioned earlier, Paychex actually covers all of the same areas that ADP does. For opportunities of this industry, cloud systems are always booming. People are wanting more of them, and while ADP does offer some, they could definitely still capitalize on this. Mobile applications are on the rise as people are constantly on the go. Data security is always a big thing. People want to make sure that they have privacy and they have that security surrounding some pretty, private data. And then given COVID, there's been a lot of new governmental regulations specifically regarding some HR issues. Threats to the industry, again, is data privacy. If something were to happen to any of these firms where they would be infiltrated, there could be definitely lawsuits that could come up for them. Also, all of these competitors that I mentioned do operate internationally, so they do have to deal with currency fluctuations, international risks, and regulations from the government. And then generally for the industry, there's just a shortage of skilled workers, so it's hard to recruit. They are looking for people who are willing to innovate and work day to day in all areas, all countries, all regions. For ADP, the core competency is certainly their payroll. That's kind of the bread and butter for their business. As you can see on this slide, in 2018, it accounted for 67% of their total revenues. And lastly, their value chain and how they drive value. First, it's definitely research and development. They always are trying to find new ways to add, change, reduce, or upgrade a certain product that they are offering. And then they also are very big on sales. If you have heard of ADP or know someone who works there, it might be known as a salesy type of an organization. This is the way that they push and the way that they do their marketing is definitely through a lot of inside sales and calling and emailing. And lastly is distribution. As I've said before, they're over 140 countries, so getting it out to clients is a huge piece for them as well. Continuing here, the competitive strategy that they've taken generically is differentiation. They do desire to create more value than the competition through their unique offerings and their product line. While ADP does aim to cut costs for businesses, they are much more concerned with adding value and ease. ADP's primary competitive advantage stems from its scale and customer relationships. This allows them to sell more human capital management every single year, more than any direct competitor. And as it says, with $1.9 billion in new business bookings worldwide. ADP seems to grow in 3 different ways. So they employ market development to grow globally. Product expansion allows them to alter or upgrade, add, or change their current products to better fit their clients. And in the past, they have gone through several acquisitions. So for example, in October of 2017, ADP acquired Global Cash Card, which was a digital payment provider. In January 2018, they acquired WorkMarket, which was a cloud-based solution. And in July of 2018, they acquired Solergo Holdings, which provided multi-country payroll management services. In terms of the diversification of their products, they are all related. They all relate to business management and running a business in general. When expanding internationally, ADP has deployed a pull strategy where the client actually has desires for their product and requests basically their product before ADP even enters a market. This has proved to be more successful for them than just pushing into a market that is not explored by them previously. And as I stated, they're now in over 140 countries. Lastly is the organizational structure. So it is a very decentralized structure with leadership styles. The whole C-suite of executives are very far away from the low-level employees like myself. We don't interact with them really at all. So while we do get general quotas and things from higher level executives, the day-to-day is not managed by them whatsoever. Lower level managers are in charge of their team and provide a lot of autonomy. So it's definitely a very flat leadership dimensions across the board for ADP. And lastly, probably one of the most important parts are the recommendations. So I think as we've gone through this, ADP is definitely a very stable and growing company and a great industry, but there are certainly some things they could be doing more efficiently. So as I mentioned earlier, ADP has an unfortunately bad reputation for being in a constant contact with someone until they've signed on the dotted line, and then they sign off basically and are of virtually no help if something goes wrong. They do have service lines set up, but it's not enough. From personal experience, I've heard complaints of the 2 to 3 hour wait times and simple issues not being able to be fixed quickly enough. ADP could implement a system where managers, so maybe a single manager, is assigned to these separate accounts and would be the go-to person basically for these clients. So they would have a one-stop shop of an individual who could help them out with whatever needs they have. ADPs could also train employees more broadly on how to answer simple questions or perform simple tasks like resetting an account or changing a password. And instead of solely having a service number, ADP could provide an email or a chat room for any unhappy customer to reach out. And they've also, as I mentioned earlier, gone through acquisitions. This could be opportunity for them to acquire a business that is better at this after-sale service that could be an asset to them instead of them having to kind of rework how they've always done business. Secondly, the country expansion. It has been revealed that ADP is not the leader in terms of the countries they operate in. In two of the other competitors, they serve over 180 countries, meaning that ADP is about 40 countries behind. There has been proven success for this organization by entering all these other cultures and locations. Another thing that could help ADP decide on how to target these markets is by actually picking specific industries as target markets. When prompted about the target market, managers will willingly admit that there is no specificity and that ADP supplies to everyone. And while it's good that their products are flexible and adaptable to all types of operations, it's hard to dive in or focus on a specific industry especially when entering a new market. So certain segments do likely provide more success and buy-in for ADP, so identifying that and really going after it could make these new ventures a little bit easier. Based on the opportunities description from the SWOT analysis, ADP can also take advantage of the rising interest in mobile applications. They can create an app allowing business owners or managers to quickly check their payroll or make administrative changes. And lastly, possibly an analytics dashboard. So when performing a rivalry analysis, there are a few aspects that this organization does not cover. ADP could invest research and development dollars into analytical dashboards or customer relationship systems. Analytics could be a great fit because they already hold their payroll information and could easily make KPI dashboards or calculations. Overall, ADP is sitting at a very solid spot that reflects in their stock price going up and their continued recruitment of employees. As always, they should analyze their opportunities and calculate what value could be added through the pursuit of each of those. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy my presentation.